this episode, we've got 5 radically different spins on an all-American classic, the pickup.
It has a striking appearance.
The speed is quite alarming.
We've got crazy creations.
So Willie is an absolute blast to drive. Every single time you count, there's a group of people wrapped around it.
Trucks with a twist.
You don't see many vehicles that have been made with 2 engines in.
I love slam vehicles just because of the look of them.
And rides restored to pure beauty.
It's definitely the Cadillac of trucks.
These are very bespoke, very sought-after vehicles.
You think you know pickups? Man, think again. If you got the bucks for a one-of-a-kind pickup, man, I got the ride for you.
They're just not like anything that anybody else will ever have. It's big, it's sexy, and pretty rare.
This may look factory-built, but this pickup is pieced together by hand.
You know what it is, but you don't know what it is. It's timeless, it's vintage, it's a throwback to the Americana days of old.
This is Ponderosa.
My appreciation for these types of vehicles started very young age.
Growing up out in the country, I used to buck hay a lot in the summertime. I used to throw them in the back of trucks just like this, not really thinking that one day they're going to be worth something.
Inspiration ran deep through Tim's veins. He was determined to build custom creations, but with a Chevy twist.
Stock is great, restored is even better, but making something more better is the best thing you can do with a vintage vehicle. The goal was to see if we can make it look like Chevy made this. This vehicle is a 4-door crew cab that's 4-wheel drive.
Though the Ponderosa may look like an authentic 60s Chevy pickup, it's a bespoke beauty. It combines the body of a 66 Chevy K30 with the chassis of a 72 Chevy C30. Combining 2 Chevys took 2 years and an enormous amount of patience and skill.
It really started as just a brainchild and then grew into more of the ball rolling. It was kind of like that tiny snowball that starts, let's try and make this. The truck started out originally as single cab, 66 Chevrolet truck. First, you start off with cutting off all the parts you don't need and repairing the parts that are still there, so any rust that was in the original cab. And then you start adding all the sheet metal that starts from the windshield back to create the new part of the cab.
This may sound simple, but completing this bespoke build, man, that was not an easy task.
The bodies are not easy to modify by any means. Getting them to look original when they were never that way takes a lot of time, patience, and skill. A truck like this would take probably around 2 years. Every single nut and bolt has been custom put in. There's not a single piece on there that's not been touched. Everything from the center console that's actually made out of a Chevy hood to the seats that are extremely rare. It looks like that's how Chevy made it.
Brother, there's no doubt your attention for detail, that's respected. This Chevy concept looks legit.
Favorite part of the truck is the cab. It's like a limo seating in the back seat. The front seat has plenty of room as well, not like the standard original cab that I really couldn't fit into. I love this truck because it's got everything that a person would want in a modern day truck, but in old classic styling. You know it's a Chevy, but you don't ever remember seeing a Chevy like this. The goal has always been perfection, or as close as we can get to it. If a person who really knows Chevy trucks walks up to it and has that curious look on their face, then we've reached our goal.
My mind is blown. From a custom Chevy collaboration to a Mini with twice as much power. Our next ride is seriously packing under the hood.
You don't see many vehicles that have been made with two engines in.
It may be mini in size, but boy, it's big everywhere else.
This is a fun car to make fast. They're like little go-karts.
This unique build is the complete package.
There's only one mini twin engine that looks like this one.
This is the twin-engine mini pickup.
When I was a kid back in England, everybody could afford a little mini. They were just the coolest little car around. All you wanted to do was make your car better than your mate's car. It's just good fun, and they're great cars to work with.
This 1965 twin-engine Mini Cooper mod is a crazy concept build by British owner Paul. Engineered from scratch and with an incredible custom paint job, Paul has taken this Mini to the max. This mini pickup is always the star of the show, twice featured at SEMA and wrapping up all the awards at Hot Import Nights in LA. But to win, man, does it have to be special.
My goal with the twin engine Mini was to make it just as different as possible. I built it for shows. I built it for the wow factor. Two engines, sounds like a good idea, until I started doing it. The car's so small, to put all this stuff into it, it's stripping the whole car down, taking all the original engine out, suspension and everything. So all I was left was, in the end, was a body shell.
Paul picked apart that Mini and started from scratch.
Everything on that car is hand-built. The engines have been totally rebuilt inside. And the gull-wing door took me weeks and weeks to get it perfected. Everything was a fight to the end. If I did it once, it had to be done again and again to make it right. Unbelievable amount of hours. Blood, sweat, and tears. But when it was done, it was worth it.
Man, this is a badass pickup.
Now, a lot of people don't even know what the car is because it looks so different to what it was. The only reason they can usually tell is because of the front headlights.
All in the eyes, baby.
Its power-to-weight ratio is just unbelievable. They've got turbos on each engine. It's got two clutches, obviously. It's got one accelerator. People are amazed that you can get all these things going at the same time and it actually works. And then we've got the 20-inch wheels. And we've got everything painted, same as the car. I wanted the inside to look like a fighter cockpit, you know, in an aeroplane. As you can see, the interior is very tight inside. You sit right in the center of the car. I use the Porsche 911 steering rack, and all these gauges come round. We have two screens up here also, which are for these reverse cameras. The seat itself, and we formed it with fiberglass just to fit me. The door has a TV in it, and there's a TV in the rear of the car as well. You can put DVDs in, so you can have films coming on the back there.
A treat for all the traffic.
When you get them right, they're like little go-karts. They're just fantastic to drive. The speed of the pickup is quite alarming. All you've got to do on the road is just give it a few blips of the throttle. It's exciting, very exciting. It's totally different to anything I've driven before. So it makes it all worthwhile. The only thing to stop you building something like this is your imagination.
To picture this ride, man, Paul, that's some imagination. From a mighty mini masterpiece to a super low Silverado. Some people like to sit up high in their rides, but for others, it's all about getting down as low as you can go.
I slam the truck, mainly because that's what we do. That's our bread and butter.
Man, does this truck get down.
I love slam vehicles just because they're the look of them. I mean, anyone can lift a truck sky high in the air.
This is the slammed Silverado.
I modified this truck because I wanted a brand new truck to be the workhorse of the shop. It hauls vehicles to shows. 2-car hauler, 3-car hauler, it does what it needs, pulls it, rides amazing, and runs down the highway and attracts attention everywhere it goes. This truck hauls, it does what it's intended to do from the factory, but in our opinion, it looks a lot better doing it. My previous workhorse was an F350, so we've done the Ford. Why not do a Chevy? If Chevrolet knew what I was doing with these trucks, they probably wouldn't sell them to me.
Jake's been slamming rides since way back in the day. Lowering this 2020 Chevy Silverado took 4 months of intense work. The whole vehicle was stripped and then rebuilt, from fabricating a new chassis and custom axles to adding a high-tech air ride suspension system and narrowing the rear end by 7 inches on each side.
It's a lot more of a challenge to complete the task on a brand new truck due to all the electronics, the amount of computers and modules, and whenever you get into these new body styles with the newer communication systems where everything has to talk to each other, it's so much more difficult an older one that has less wires on it.
This pristine pickup may have modern wiring, but its daily use is still pretty original.
More than capable of working. We hook onto the wedge trailer, we hook onto the 2-car hauler, as well as a hitch. There's a bumper hitch hidden behind the license plate, so you can fold out the license plate and hook onto a bumper pull trailer.
Nice touch, brother.
All 4 corners are on a 9-inch airbag. It's 3,800-pound bag. Independent control arms in the front with a front sway bar. We're running 2 5-gallon tanks on the truck that hold onboard air, and we're running 4 Viair compressors that pump air back into that tank. The truck has 3 different presets, and you can go low, middle, and then all the way up. It'll raise up in the front around 13, 14 inches, and it'll raise up in the rear somewhere around 10.
This truck is versatile and cool. I love it.
A lot of people don't understand it. They don't understand how a truck can be this low and still haul, but they don't understand air ride. You know, every semi 18-wheeler in the nation is running on air these days. It rides tons better than the factory leaf spring or anything else. But overall, I mean, it's well received, like attention-wise. Why modify this truck? Why not? It's there for the taking. You can modify an old one and have to replace every nut and bolt, or you can just pay for a brand new truck. The reliability of buying a brand new truck and then just doing your modifications to it is probably the best thing. Having something that looks as good as it does, it means that we can take a brand new truck with all the electronics in it, and we can do our modifications to it and still drive the truck like it's intended for. That's what it means to me is being special. I don't know if that made any sense, did it?
These babies are both hardcore and hard to come by.
These are very bespoke, very sought-after vehicles. I can do 6 to 10 a year, and that's about it.
It's the perfect blend of past and present.
It takes the history of these trucks, it modernizes them, smashes them together, and it has a striking appearance and performance that you will not believe. Badass. It's the blood, sweat, and tears that makes these things special. This truck is the real deal. It's ready to go.
This is the Legacy Dodge Power Wagon.
The Dodge Power Wagons came out immediately after World War II, and were in production all the way through 1968. They're some of the toughest, hardest working trucks that were ever available on the American market. When I was a kid growing up, my dad had a Korean War Power Wagon, and as a little kid, he used to let me drive the things. It was just this fascinating, larger-than-life kind of machine. And so I think it was some of those early experiences that just made me fall in love with these machines.
When Winslow started restoring power wagons in 2008, he wasn't met with too many smiles from his fellow restorers. Pickups were often treated as second-class citizens, but Winslow wasn't put off. He wanted to create a legacy in restoring these power wagons and was determined to give them a new lease on life.
This truck is the 118th Legacy Power Wagon conversion that I made. As we progress through each one, we just keep perfecting that formula a little bit more and a little bit more. This project in particular was very interesting because the customer needed a very high level of finish on the interior to look like a real gentleman's truck. But he also has been known to really take his stuff out in the woods. Everything is here, easy to get to. Like if you had gloves on, you could jump in here and work on this thing and it really wouldn't be a problem. The door handles have all been upgraded so much that when you open the door, this latch triggers that step to come down. This is the part of the cab where we stretch this back 14 inches. There are some fine details here and some pretty important body lines. You need to maintain these perfectly. As you pull this back, you inadvertently create all these blind spots. So that's why we've added these, what Dodge would call a pilot house window. One of the things that people love about these trucks is the wood bed. It's a marine-grade mahogany.
Dude, this wagon is wicked.
For the user, the first thing that you notice is, yeah, it is a little small in here, but I can already see how that extra room back here is gaining me so much. I'm a pretty tall guy, and I can move this seat back no problem. The air compressor, once charged, then allows you to operate your front and rear locking differentials. That's going to give you true four-wheel drive. All four tires have to spin at the same speed, and there's very few vehicles available nowadays that actually have that.
Brother, that's impressive.
That first gear is a granny gear. That is only for going really slow off-road. If you're driving around town, you're normally going to start this thing in second gear.
This perfect pickup has all the gear, making it smooth and safe on the open road.
So driving this Power Wagon is an awesome experience. It's unlike anything else in your garage. You've got this incredible presence as you're coming down the road. So when we jam on the brakes in this car, those are four-wheel disc brakes. And this thing stays really, really straight, even in threshold panic stops. I need that kind of confidence in all my vehicles, even if it's an old truck. It needs to stop in a straight line. It needs to have safe brakes. It needs to have some precise steering. Working on a classic piece of Americana like this, the question is, how can I make it relevant for today's drivers, today's roads, and not have the vehicle lose its soul? There is nothing that I'm more interested in than old trucks, the history, what they were used for. I take an enormous amount of pride in my work. These trucks are my life. They are just absolutely my passion.
From a tip-top truck to a rusty rat rod. Imagine owning a daily runaround that looks absolutely wrecked.
I really like industrial, big giant weld, big rivets, bare bones, and it's what appeals to me.
This radical rod is raw rust.
My truck is rusty, old, and low. This is my rat rod pickup truck, Willie.
Man, this is one mean ride. Originally a 1946 Jeep pickup, Willie is all handmade using a mixture of sheet metal and scraps from other cars. Boasting some badass 21-inch wheels on the front and 22-inch on the rear, Willie looks mean, but provides comfort for Josh's daily chores. Now valued at over 20,000 bucks, this rat rod investment has been worth all the hard work and heavy lifting.
A group of friends and myself built Willie about 10 years ago. I paid $1,000 from a scrap yard. Year after year, it's been modified more and more and changed over the time. We really brought it to life with exactly how I wanted to do it, and I feel like we kind of nailed it.
I'm dying to see what's under the hood, man. Give us some details.
Willie's a completely hand-fabricated chassis. It was built by us. The body has been chopped down 7-8 inches. Most of everything's just been hand-built from other parts of other vehicles. Willie has a Suzuki Samurai front axle. It's a Puerto Rican Samurai that had a 2-wheel drive front end. The grill's all hand-fabricated, sheet metal, pipe, everything. Motor is an SVO Mustang motor. It's a turbo engine. Factory formula produced about 200 horsepower. This one's around 300.
Nice.
So the back of the truck opens. Kind of shows you what we got going on here. We have a local brewery keg for a fuel tank, 15.5 gallons, which is plenty for a 4-cylinder. Willie has a lot of reused parts. My grandfather, there's a bunch of his tools welded on there in places and small things that nobody notices. It's just kind of a part of the family at this point. The steering wheel is actually made up of parts from the last motor we blew up on this thing. There's a ring gear and pistons and timing gear. And if it started life in Willie, it might as well finish life in Willie. So Willie is an absolute blast to drive. It drives nice and tight, it handles really well, takes curves at 70, it pushes nice, it brakes nicely. It's just a really all-around balanced, good car. So driving right-hand drive, we really did this because of the steering box. It's really neat doing the right-hand drive with a 5-speed for here. You kind of get used to it after about 10 minutes, and it's just normal now. A lot of my friends, they complain there's too much in the windshield. They can't quite see past the engine. But let's be honest, that's really half of rat rods is having the giant engine in the front so you can barely see over top of it. So without that, it'd be boring looking. The chassis is flat front to back. You hit train tracks, you kind of drag across them. It hits the ground, doesn't really hurt anything, and still drives nice and smooth with one finger on the wheel.
Although plunging, Willie is still practical.
The truck itself, we drive every day. I take it to go to the grocery store. It gets a lot of attention for its rustiness and, you know, just overall appearance. People recognize it. Every single time you come back, there's a group of people wrapped around it, and you kind of got to fight your way back to the car. It's pretty awesome.
I thought I'd seen it all when it came to the classic American pickups. Man, I was wrong. Those were insane. We'll see you next time on Ultimate Rides.